It's been getting progressively worse throughout the evening.
A recent shift in the track now has people here scrambling to get ready as Irma now starts its assault on this state. The first of Irma's powerful squalls.
It has not stopped raining.
Now beginning to batter the Keys and the rest of South Florida.
Real strong gusts here.
Knocking out power and spawning tornadoes. Only the beginning of what this monstrous storm is expected to bring to the Sunshine State.
This is really the worst of every situation possible.
The hurricane's track shifting, now threatening to inundate Florida's west coast with a storm surge up to 15 feet, forcing new evacuation orders. Now, more than 6.5 million Floridians asked to leave their homes.
This is clearly a life-threatening situation.
And you can see here in the street, this is some very heavy flooding here.
Right now, that's probably one of the strongest bands that we felt this evening. Let's go over there. Let's give an idea of what we're seeing. This one just is blowing in as you came to me. This is the strongest one that we've seen so far.
Wanted to just give you an idea of what we're experiencing out here. This is Riel Creighton here. Do you see that green light? That is, it's already, you can see what we've been seeing as we've been driving. We're on the 836 right now heading west. We keep seeing these green flashes of light that are literally popping up all around us. I don't know if you can see right now, it's pretty dark. But green flashes of light that are lighting up the sky. Oh, that just happened, you see that way? Those appear to be transformers that are blowing up all around us. So almost certain that the power has been knocked out for a lot of people in Miami-Dade, because this is just, it's been sort of constant as we've been driving here. What we experienced, we just are actually coming from downtown Miami. We were on Biscayne Boulevard. We actually had to close up shop and get out of the area because it just wasn't safe. The wind actually knocked us off our feet. That's how strong the wind was. We understand that the gusts are something like already 50 to 60 miles per hour, and Irma is still just approaching, so it's pretty ferocious and strong winds. The rain so far has been steady. The wind is blowing so fast, though, that at times, if you're looking at the rain on the road, it looks almost like it's steam coming up the road, but that's just how much wind force is pushing that rain as we're trying to get through it. Right now, we're headed back to the station. We're actually going to get to a little safer spot, see if we can't get near a building to block where we're at. Right now, the road looks really, really clear. We're not next to a whole lot of trees here being on the interstate, but anytime you're going through any of the streets, the residential streets, whether it's in the business areas, either downtown, what you're going to find already, right now, it's about 5 o'clock, just after 5 o'clock in the morning, what we're finding is a lot of debris in the road. We're talking about palm fronds, trees, old trees that have collapsed and fallen down in the road. Actually, there's one blocking that exit. There you go, there's another transformer. There's one blocking that exit off 395 as you're getting onto Biscayne Boulevard. So really strong winds, really strong rains. We're going to keep driving around, try to report back to you as we can.
Category 4 hurricane in the Gulf of Mexico still, and it looks like a Category 4 now, not a 3, heading into the Fort Myers, Sarasota, Tampa area. Monday, 2 a.m., it's still bearing down on Tampa with maybe 115-mile-an-hour winds. So we're going to continue to update this, but hitting Key West as a 4, staying a 4, hitting Tampa, Sarasota, somewhere around there on I-75, and then moving up still on Monday with a landfall on the Big Bend area. So we're talking 3 potential landfalls. The northwest movement has picked up slightly at 8 miles an hour now, but the pressure is so low. This is really incredible. For instance, there have only been 10 hurricanes that have had a pressure of 931 millibars as of last night. Irma, one of them. Now we're dropped to 928 pending landfall. So this is incredible. Tornado watches are up right now. This is a volatile situation for us. It was a tumultuous night last night, especially on the Treasure Coast. We had numerous warnings, and we have as well an active flood warning for Fort Pierce, where the rain set up, didn't want to let up, kind of formed a boundary. We call it training. So from the Indian River Estates back into Indria Road, right along 95, you've accumulated up to 5-6 inches of rain in spots. And we have reports now that houses are being breached by the waters. It's called flash flooding. We've also seen tornadoes as well with numerous warnings. So there is the rate of rainfall surrounding Fort Pierce, more than 3 inches an hour.
surge is already hitting the city of Miami. And before we go to Brian Yennis, Brian, I'm coming to you in just a moment. We've been getting some tweets. I got a tweet from JJ Mike who says, we're visiting in Miami on vacation and are riding it out. Crazy wind, trees down, power out already. His concern is about the windows, and he's hoping they'll be able to ride it out. What are you experiencing there, Brian?
Yeah, we're about to. It looks like we're about to get a squall here, a pretty powerful squall based on the radar, and that's what we're seeing from the outer bands. I just want to tell you guys, this 30 to 50 mile an hour winds, where we sometimes get these gusts that push you back, that feel a little more like 53, 55, if not more. And when you look over here, this is why it's so dangerous. Look at this. This is a panel from where we're standing, which is underneath the Miami Metro rail here in downtown. And if Guy over here, the photographer, will show you, this is where these dangerous, whoa. Sorry, that's where it's coming from on the roof there. You see that? So these panels are breaking off and the wind is pushing them across the light bulb over here. And so that is why it's dangerous to be out here when it comes to even just 30 to 50 mile an hour winds. That sharp object can go through any windshield and go through anything. And if you go over here, you'll see the flooding that has increased here. This isn't from the storm surge. This is just from the rain. And it's easily flooded here in downtown Miami. This is Biscayne Boulevard, but the conditions here are about to get even worse based on what we saw on the radar. But again, I can't stress enough that we already have the panels here coming down from the Metro. We'll get a better shot of it over here. You see that, and the light coming out. And
Brian,
that's
a very precarious situation. Yeah, it's a very precarious situation that we're looking at there. And I'm glad people are taking heed to stay off the streets. And you have to be out there to do your job, and you're following all the safety guidelines, you and your crew. But how bad can that flooding get there just with the wind damage alone?
Well, honestly, they expected here flooding when the first forecast was coming out of upwards of 6 feet. Look, Biscayne Bay is right there. We're not going to get that 6-foot storm surge, but that bay is right there. And we expect the flooding to get worse with the surge and the water. We do expect the water to rise here in downtown.
Well, we see that some of the power is still on, and as we heard from one gentleman through a tweet, the power has gone out where he is staying. Can you imagine that, Brian? You go to Miami for vacation, and you end up being here in the middle of Hurricane Irma?
Yeah, it's happened to a lot of folks who are trying to get connecting flights actually out, and they got stuck in the Miami airport, believe it or not. There are some folks who had to move to shelters, and they weren't even able to get their baggage. So up and down here, there are people that are taking shelter in hotels, some people without even clothes to last past what they had on them. That's what's happened to a lot of tourists in Miami. So he's not alone, and yes, some 160,000 people in Miami-Dade County have already lost power, down trees and power lines all over the county. And we'll see here, look, the flooding has just increased here. It's gone up by definitely 4 or 5 inches since we've gotten here. And this is just from localized rain. And Miami, this is the kind of thing we're going to start seeing. 24 hours is 20 to 24 hours we're going to be seeing these conditions, if not more. And we can expect things to get worse.
So I mean, think about it. We have something blocking us, and we're still getting this kind of wind. Yeah. If I were standing a few feet over there, it would be a lot stronger.
Ted, is this weather we're seeing now with the rain and the wind continuous, or is it stop and start over again?
The wind has been continuous to where you have sustained winds that are increasing. And now, like I said, the gusts that we're getting are stronger than we've seen earlier. And the rain, well, we've had steady rain at times, not too much, but again, we're seeing more rain right now than we've been seeing throughout much of the evenings or much of the morning. So everything's kind of increasing right now.
And are there a number of people with you in that hotel? Have you met a number of people that decided to evacuate maybe the Keys and head there?
Yeah, the hotel is packed. This is one of the few hotels that's taking reservations or allowing people to stay. You have to sign a waiver when you stay. Most of the other hotels here in Florida City are closed. We did see a few as we were driving on US 1 that had cars there, and I know that one of them at least has like FPL workers there and first responder type people in the hotel. So there are people staying in the hotel. As for evacuees from the Keys, in this hotel, I didn't really notice a lot of evacuees from the Keys here. I noticed people who were on vacation who got trapped here, and I think there's a lot of locals who decided to ride out the storm here in the hotel. But it's full. The hotel's completely full.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people in that area may be in evacuation zone, so they felt it was safer to go there. You mentioned that you have to sign a waiver. I'm curious about that. What kind of waiver is that?
It's a waiver, kind of a hold harmless waiver, stating that there's an evacuation and that they're not responsible if something happens to you. Pretty standard in situations like this. Usually when we are covering a storm for hotels that allow you to stay, you usually sign a waiver saying that if something happens to you, you knew the consequences before you checked in.